Good evening and welcome. You're on board the Newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. The Supreme Court has granted protection to Nupur Sharma from arrest till the 10th of August. But we're now seeing a trend where multiple FIRs are registered against the same person for the same alleged offense in different centers. The process is sought to be made the punishment. How do we counter this very dangerous trend? It's Nupur Sharma and Zubair today. It could be you or me tomorrow. We'll look at that in detail on the Newstrack tonight.
Massive relief for Nupur. Nupur can't be arrested till August. Several FIRs filed for just one offence. Multiple FIRs, the new weapon to harass. Chain reaction of cases to browbeat and silence. Has the process become the punishment?
We have a power-packed, very important show lined up tonight. Here's a look at the headlines I'm tracking this evening. Haryana cop mowed down by mining mafia in Nup. One accused shot in an encounter with the police. Chief Minister Khattar assures DSP Surinder Singh's killers will not be spared. Ugly caste war over the Agnipath scheme. Opposition claims bid to create Jati Veers. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh counters misinformation, says no change in the recruitment process. Salem SP and collector transferred after violent protests in Tamil Nadu over a Class 12 student suicide. SIT to probe what triggered the rioting. National Commission of Women takes note of the Kerala exam horror. Female NEET aspirants say they were asked to remove their innerwear at the exam centre. National Testing Agency forms a fact-finding committee. Europe in the grip of a record-breaking heat wave. Temperature tops 40 degrees Celsius for the first time in the UK. Wildfires rage parts of France. Suspended BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma cannot be arrested in the 9 cases against her for her comments on the Prophet Muhammad. The Supreme Court today provided interim relief to Nupur. The apex court acknowledged the threats she's been getting and said Nupur's life and liberty must be protected.
The Supreme Court grants relief to the suspended BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma. Nupur Sharma had moved the top court citing death and rape threats. The 2-judge bench hearing the matter granted interim protection against arrest to Nupur Sharma till August 10th. The court further said that there is an immediate need to protect her life and liberty. The court had issued notices to the centre and the states in the case.
All I can say is that the order is completely in conformity with law. It makes sense. You can't have one person, facing multiple investigations on one single broadcast. I mean, just because it was broadcast all over the country, you don't face 1,000 investigations for it wherever it has been broadcast. So it's been an act of and it's an interim order for the time being. The FIRs will be consolidated. The Supreme Court will have to decide which police station where the FIR is lodged will be the one police station. They've done that in the past in a TV anchor's case. So there's a precedent for that. That you club all the FIRs together and decide one police station which will continue to investigate the case.
Nupur Sharma has been in the eye of storm ever since her controversial comments on Prophet Muhammad during a television debate. 9 FIRs have been registered against her across the country. 1 in Delhi, 5 in Maharashtra, 2 in West Bengal and 1 in Telangana. Nupur had earlier moved the Supreme Court to club all the FIRs together but withdrew the petition after the bench came down heavily on her, calling her single-handedly responsible for the protests and beheading of Kanhaiya Lal in Udaipur. Bureau Report, India Today.
So Nupur Sharma has a total of 9 FIRs against her. 4 states: Delhi, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Telangana. 5 cases in Maharashtra. Zubair, on the other hand, has 7 cases. 1 in Delhi, 1 in Sitapur, 2 in Harass, Lakhimpur Kheri, Ghaziabad, Muzaffarnagar. And in Delhi and Sitapur, bail has been granted. In the others, he hasn't been granted bail. But it's essentially the same pattern. You've got multiple FIRs, the same charge. Nupur never got arrested. Zubair is in jail. His bail plea comes up for hearing tomorrow. But once again, file multiple FIRs, harass the person, ensure that he's in a mountain of legal trouble, and then ensure that the message goes out that what you're doing is not correct, rather than ensuring that there is one investigation for one offense against one person.
Alt News co-founder Mohammed Zubair continues to be in jail. He got temporary relief on Monday, with the Supreme Court telling the UP police not to take any action in the 5 cases against him till the hearing resumes on Wednesday. Justice Chandrachud had said, but the problem is the vicious cycle. He gets interim bail in one case, but gets arrested for some other case. Mohammed Zubair has sought bail and cancellation of all 6 FIRs registered in Sitapur, Lakhimpur Kheri, Ghaziabad, Muzaffarnagar and Harass districts.
माननीय न्यायालय ने दोनों पक्षों की दलील सुनने के बाद जमानत प्रार्थना पत्र को खारिज कर दिया है और वो अपना कोर्ट का फैसला हम उनका सम्मान करते हैं.
A Delhi court on Friday granted bail to Zubair in a case filed for allegedly offending religious sentiments and violating foreign exchange laws. He was booked by Delhi police over a 2018 tweet, which was called offensive by an anonymous complainant on Twitter. In the tweet, Zubair had shared a screenshot from the 1983 Hindi movie Kisi Se Na Kehna to comment on the state of country before and after 2014. While Zubair has got bail, he is unlikely to be released from jail. Zubair has moved the Supreme Court seeking quashing of the 6 FIRs filed against him or to club investigation of these FIRs with the investigation in Delhi. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining us now on the Newstrack, I've got Karuna Nandi, advocate in the Supreme Court, Amitabh Sinha, another advocate in the Supreme Court, Desh Ratan Nigam is also an advocate, Ketaki Chitale knows something about harassment. She was picked up, locked in prison in Maharashtra for comments that she made about Sharad Pawar, and then once again the process just played itself out. Now here's the case. In Nupur Sharma's matter, you've got cases in Maharashtra, Telangana, West Bengal, Delhi, run by opposition ruled parties, whereas in the Zubair case, you've got cases in Uttar Pradesh, you've got cases in Delhi, run by parties, run by governments that are run by the BJP. And therefore, different cases, but the same phenomenon. And what's most worrying is it's happening to Nupur and Zubair today. It could happen literally to any one of us, you included, watching India Today television at this time, at any point tomorrow. Somebody needs to be offended. Some religious or political group gets agitated and you've had it. Karuna Nandi, across political lines, and clearly no one is blameless in this because it's not as if it's only the BJP doing it. Opposition ruled states doing the same. What do you think is the solution? How do we stop the process from becoming the punishment, Karuna?
The issue, unfortunately, is not new to our country. When the IPC was formulated back in 1860, let's be clear that it was a colonial government trying to have peace at any cost. These are all pre-constitutional laws. Mostly these are pre-constitutional laws. And the fact that parliaments over the years have not only approved them and have perpetuated them is merely a neutral fact. So I really think the time has come that even though not to read these laws down, but to do away with them and come up with a proper framework with regard to hate speech. Because what happens with these laws? They get weaponized. And they get they get weaponized. And as we've seen, that the people with more power are able to weaponize them more effectively, right? So if you see it, the matter sub judice, but I think that what the Supreme Court said in Zubair's case, that, the content is the same and that, the expressed modicum of surprise that this was happening at all is, I think, something that we all share, frankly. If you look at those tweets and that screenshot from a charming Rishikesh Mukherjee film.
No, but even if he gets bail in the end, and here's the problem, the judges can mock some of this, but you've put a young man in prison for multiple weeks, subjected him to harassment of the process, and then ultimately he gets bail. But by then, Amitabh Sinha, it's too late, because whoever it may be, Zubair in this particular case, he's been put through the punishment. A message has been sent, not just to that individual, but others who are acting and thinking like him, that if you mess with us, we'll have multiple FIRs. Even if you get one bail, some other case will be filed, and you'll still stay in jail no matter what.
Rahul ji, thank you very much for giving me time. Let me explain first, as a layman, what people should understand about this provision which you are talking about or you are debating about. See, in Indian constitution, in Indian legal system, it is a very beautiful arrangement of rule of law. And the constitution ensures rule of law. And because of that, IPC is also there, CRPC also is there, and then constitution is there which gives relief for any misuse of law. See, when law will be there, law will be used and law will be misused. It is normal, human psychology. But the arrangement is very clear. See, suppose, a malice is there, the mens rea is there, the malafide is there, and misuse of the law is there, then the judiciary takes the command.
Let me ask you a direct question, Amitabh Sinha.
And here,
Amitabh, let me ask you a direct question. One FIR in Sitapur, 2 in Hathras, 1 in Lakhimpur Kheri, 1 in Ghaziabad, 1 in Muzaffarnagar. Forget what the judiciary says. To you as an advocate, does this look like a gross misuse of the law?
What I am trying to tell you and your viewer through your channel, just give me one extra minute without interference. Let me explain. It is a very serious issue. See, my point is the misuse is always there, and misuse can be restricted and by the judicial intervention. So, if you are talking separately about Zubair's case, then I would be more, I would have felt happy when you would have talked about Rohit Ranjan case, where Chhattisgarh police came in plain clothes and in the morning.
I'm talking about all of this, Amitabh Sinha. You're giving me a very generic, rhetorical response to a very direct and specific question.
I am telling you. No,
one second. Hear my question, Amitabh Sinha.
Rahul Kanwal,
you're not hearing my question,
misuse is already there. Misuse is there, but the judicial intervention, provision of judicial intervention is there, no. So Supreme Court takes that very careful observation about that, and if some violation of the legal provisions are there, then Supreme Court will give the relief. So we should
you're putting the onus on the Supreme Court. That case will come up for hearing in the Supreme Court Wednesday. I'm asking you a direct question, sir. 1 FIR in Muzaffarnagar, 1 in Ghaziabad, 1 in Lakhimpur Kheri, 2 in Hathras, yes. 1 in Sitapur, 1 in Delhi. In Delhi and Sitapur, he's been granted bail. He's still in jail. Does this look like gross misuse or not to you?
My point is, if the hurting the religious sentiments are the main reason for some complaint or the FIR, then because of the social media revolution or the communication revolution, this process spreads throughout the country. If by sheer coincidence also it may be there, or malice can also be there. But we are not here to decide. We should be having faith in the judiciary. If Supreme Court decides, then Supreme Court will give the relief. There is no problem. Number two, why I am telling this point? Because everything is being seen in a political manner. See, Jubair Ahmed case certainly is different. That's why Jubair Ahmed is not getting relief as of now from the Supreme Court. If he will approach Supreme Court will certainly look into the matter and give the relief. Under Article 32, the transfer powers are completely and absolutely with Supreme Court. So Supreme Court can give transfer order to Jubair Ahmed for transferring all the matters to Delhi jurisdiction. There is no problem. So why we should look into
depending on the political lens somebody wears, he or she determines whether what the courts are doing is right or wrong. Nupur Sharma being granted relief from arrest till the 10th of August seems like the right thing to do, but someone like an Amitabh Sinha unable to criticize multiple FIRs in this case is it could be malice, may not be malice, but look at what happened in the case of that Z News anchor, he had FIRs. So very clear about where the fault lies. My point is, it could be a news anchor, it could be a politician, it could be an activist, it could be a journalist, it could be anybody. It's the same thing playing itself out in different states, in different cases. The process is sought to be made the punishment.
Yes, Rahul, in fact, you have to approach the FIRs from two points of view. If based on one single incident of offense, various FIRs have been registered, and there are various FIRs based on different incidents. Now, in the case of Zubair, there is a 2018 POXO case. 2020, there is a Hanuman honeymoon kind of a comparison he did. Then there is a fake news case at Muzaffarnagar FIR you are talking about. A true news was peddled as a fake news by the alt news, which was related to Israel-Palestinian conflict. Another incident was Ghaziabad FIR. So these are different incidents. Now, in the case of Rohit Ranjan, you talked about single incident, multiple FIRs. And in the case of Nupur Sharma, single telecast, multiple FIRs. So these two stands on different footings. Now, there could be a political malice. There is a possibility of a political malice also. Could be. This will come out after the investigation and final verdict by the courts. How to prevent such kind of process becoming a punishment is a very important question, because we require certain kind of judicial and police reforms, which is very, very important. And in case of, let me tell you, this is an age of social media and electronic medium telecast. Offense is committed where it is seen, or I read a tweet somewhere. The place of my reading becomes a place of offense. So one reform could be the place from where it is published. That place should be the place of filing an FIR, not the entire India. In the case of social media and TV, that reform can be done. Secondly, if I lodge an FIR against somebody and another person X lodges an FIR against the same person without knowing that another FIR has been lodged. So the person, I would not know whether that FIR has been lodged against the very same person and against the very same offense. So that kind of mechanism, there should be some kind of an electronic platform where these FIRs based on same incident should be reflected, so that automatically the Supreme Court.
Tanveer Ahmed, do you buy this argument at all put forth by Desh Ratan Nigam that it's possible that somebody may have seen a tweet or a comment on TV in different cities like Lakhimpur, Hathras, Ghaziabad, Muzaffarnagar? They may not know what the other person has done. They may claim to be equally offended and therefore they filed an FIR.
Not at all. Not at all. You see, Rahul, first of all, let me thank you for inviting me to your program. You see, at the end of the day, everything in our country cannot be now reposited in the Supreme Court.
Correct.
There are defined and distinctive jurisdictions. The first thing that the cops have to do is that when any complaint is filed before them or brought to their notice, they have to apply their own mind, and that is independent mind. Whether any cognizable offense is made out, or ostensibly what we see day in and day out is that the cops who have now virtually no spine, they are bending towards their political bosses beyond 180 degrees. The cases which are lodged, especially in Zubair's case, have a clear political flavor. They are not decided by cops on their independent school of mind, but they are directed by politicians. So these are ex post mala fide police actions where the cops are not doing their real job. They're not discharging their constitutional obligations in prosecuting a person only when the prosecution is justified. Now, when you have these kinds of criminal prosecutions, you are adding and putting more burden on the Supreme Court. Everybody cannot go in an Article 32 and say that, sir, this has happened and now please do this X, Y, and Z. In a democracy, a good society, a good democracy works when all, when all angles of the democracy, when all pillars and institutions work together.
Karuna Nandi, Tanveer Ahmed makes an important argument that you're basically putting the onus on the Supreme Court. Even if it's a minor matter of bail, rather than judging on high matters of national and constitutional importance, something as simple as a bail, because nobody else wants to take a decision, complete cop-out, no application of mind, you're putting the onus on the Supreme Court, which is already highly burdened.
Obviously, the burden, I mean, I don't know if the speaker before me was doing that, but obviously the Supreme Court can't be burdened with every single, and let's also be clear that every single person who is being persecuted under these overbroad and unjust laws cannot come to the Supreme Court because it's not that easy, it's expensive, it's difficult. A trend that we have seen, and this started a long time ago, and I've represented a large number of clients who have been persecuted in this manner. For example, the AIB, a long time ago, said something that was thought of and felt to be vulgar and obscene, and FIRs were filed against them all over the country. And what we've seen is that this is a particularly attention-seeking tactic, which is not to say that the speech in some of these cases is not an attention-seeking tactic. And while the Supreme Court's comments on Ms. Sharma attributing responsibility for the violence to her, I disagree with, they did take note of the fact of how odious her speech was, frankly. And the last time I was on your show, she was on this show, being obnoxious, frankly. But anyway, the point is that despite that, should all of these people be arrested? Now, should arrest be an immediate consequence of a cognizable offense merely being invoked? No, absolutely not. Are various state governments, and in particular the BJP, targeting individuals for speech and employing the remedy of arrest at a hugely disproportionate rate, including with journalists? And let us be clear that Zubair was a journalist. And so there is a heightened level of protection that should be accorded to him.
Let Deshrata Nigam respond to this. It's a poster from a film. In 1983, when the film came, nobody even bothered considering this offensive. It was laughed off. Now you've got the police force running, huffing, puffing, arresting someone, claiming that this could have caused a riot, claiming that religious sensitivities have been offended. Karuna Nandi says this is just an effort to try and target somebody whose point of view the government of the day doesn't like.
Rahul, let me make a distinction as a lawyer, which is a very important distinction for your viewers. Supreme Court has said if the punishment is less than 7 years, a person need not be arrested. A notice has to be given under section 41A of the CRPC. And that notice was given both to Nupur Sharma and Zubair. And similar sections are there. And the punishment is from 1 to 5 years. Now, in both the cases, arrest is not mandatory. However, in the case of Zubair, after 41A notice, during investigation, it was realized that he is not cooperating in the investigation and he's tampering and destroying evidence also. And therefore, the need of arrest has. Please don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. Please, Rahul.
Karuna, let him speak. Karuna, I'll come back to you. Let Deshrata Nigam speak. I'll come back to you. Go ahead, Mr. Nigam.
I don't like to debate when somebody interferes. I never interfere in anybody's.
Please speak.
Therefore, the sections are similar, but the arrest of Zubair was on a different consideration. Then destruction of evidence section was also brought in. 35 of Foreign Contribution Regulation Act has also been added, and also the EDs, money laundering, probably may or may not come, because FCRA money, when unaccountable money comes, when you don't have a license, then money laundering is a natural consequence. So these, you cannot compare the two. In the case of Nupur Sharma, after 41A notice, she is cooperating. There is no destruction of evidence or anything. These two cases stand on a different footing. Yes, we can discuss the larger question involved, as I said. When single incident, multiple FIRs are there, then we require some kind of a digital platform of the police, a common platform of the police, or at an all India basis, where such kind of, FIRs come, the first one should be taken.
Okay, let Karuna Nandi respond to your point that he's destroying evidence, that he's not cooperating with the police, which is why he's been arrested, and therefore it's not fair to compare the two cases. Karuna.
There was
No. Rahul Kanwal, I am sorry. Rahul Kanwal, I am sorry. This is not a case of Zubair. This is not this program. Are you trying to prove that this program is the program for Zubair? I am sorry. If you are directly discussing Zubair's case, then I am sorry. I am really. Hello.
I was speaking to Karuna Nandi. I don't know how you're speaking at this moment. Amitabh Sinha, I'll come back to you in a moment. Let Karuna Nandi make a point. Let Karuna Nandi make a point.
The case of Zubair.
I'm discussing all cases because they are equally problematic.
This is no.
They are all one second. Amitabh Sinha's fader goes down. I'm coming to you in just a moment. Deshratan Nigam made a point. Karuna wants to counter. Let her do this. I'll come back to you in a moment. Karuna.
I think it's fundamentally important when a case is being heard by the courts not to put only and very specifically argue the substance, and to argue it so comprehensively incorrectly, and to do it against somebody who has been accused of a crime. That the lawyer of that person the lawyers of that person, Zubair, have said in court that the 41A was never served, that many of the charges are concocted, and there is something that is quite clear to see, that if you look at some of the tweets that have been impugned, that the tweets prima facie, the courts will look into it, do not seem to go anywhere near a criminal offense. So frankly, this is what I'm objecting to with the people who have been speaking. What I'm also saying is that in our current way of thinking and in our current TV and social media, we think about the last 3 days. We forget about Siddiq Kappan, against whom the UAPA has been invoked. We forget about the large number of journalists who are targeted every couple of weeks. And we forget the journalists from the smaller towns, and we forget that the process is the punishment.
Okay, so let Amitabh Sinha come in. He was itching to have a go at Karuna and respond in the middle of the argument. So I will come to you, and you asked whether this is just about Zubair. It's not. It's as much about Rohit. It's as much about Nupur. It's as much about every single person who has multiple FIRs against him. And your conviction, and that's the problem, Amitabh, your conviction about how Nupur is being harassed is much higher than your conviction about somebody whose political views are different from yours but facing the similar situation. You're not applying the same yardstick, and therein lies the problem, Amitabh Sinha.
Rahul, I am sorry that your expectation towards judiciary should be a little more higher. And I am completely disagreement. I have completely disagreement with Miss Nandi, because she is saying that not everybody has a limitation to come to Supreme Court. I am sorry. Supreme Court is very accessible, number one. Number two, under Article 32, the process is very short. It is not lengthy like normal appeals or SLPs. So if somebody is being harassed, or he or she thinks that he is being or she is being harassed, the Supreme Court has the remedy, and Supreme Court has
not
the
really,
jurisdiction.
Amitabh Sinha.
I am only talking
if
about
you have access to Amitabh Sinha or Karuna Nandi, then maybe you can get heard in the Supreme Court. For small journalists, stringers, activists in small town India, I don't think going to the Supreme Court is easy. I can't afford you, Amitabh Sinha. I definitely can't afford Karuna Nandi. It's a very different situation. Don't say Supreme Court is easily available. It's not, sir.
If under Article 32, a transfer application comes to the Supreme Court immediately takes the cognizance. And especially in such type of matters when the matter is sensitive, Supreme Court never, takes any step which is, delayed or anything. Immediately the cognizance is taken. So if and what
no, but you're very agitated. Here's the point I'm making. You are mighty agitated about what happened with the V-News anchor where the Chhattisgarh police came. But when somebody else gets the same treatment, whose political views are different from yours, your level of agitation is much lesser. It's not based on principle, it's based on politics.
That's what I want to tell you, Rahul. So when the Supreme Court is there, you must have the confidence and faith in Supreme Court and the higher judiciary. If somebody is thinking, see, in the criminal, justice, in the criminal justice, see, if suppose I am hurt or I am being deprived of any right of mine, so I will visit my nearest police station. So just think from that point of view.
Let Tanveer Ahmed Mir come in. You are saying this is no big deal. You can approach the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is easily available. If somebody is being harassed, and therefore the likes of Zubair must have faith in the Supreme Court and the higher judiciary, and this isn't really much of a big deal.
Not at all, Rahul. Not at all. See, when it is said that, anybody and everybody, Supreme Court is accessible, that is an argument totally out of the way. What we need to see that after so many years of independence, are we going towards a democracy which is robust, which recognizes and respects the rights of its citizens, which allows prosecution, proscribes persecution, or are we going to have a system where, because a dispensation is in power, so they will railroad the rights of the citizens who are not to their liking or who do criticize them? At the end of the day, the problem is with the executive. The police system of this country has completely now failed the society. Before the police officer, anybody may come and lodge a complaint. But police officer, even there is a 5 judges bench judgment called Lalita Kumari. They can always do a preliminary inquiry. You get complaints, thousands of complaints in any police station every day in Delhi. Do they register FIRs in every case? They don't. Now, they will first see whether any cognizable offense is made out. Now, in case of journalists, whether they are coming from Chhattisgarh and targeting a journalist of, say, Z News, which have a particular ideology, I am first of all trying to point out that the police officers have a fundamental duty. That duty is to prosecute, not to persecute.
Desh Ratan Nigam, respond to these arguments. Even the court said it the other day. We seem to be turning into a police state.
That's
where,
exactly the point.
You're weaponizing free speech. We don't know who will get offended. It could be offense to something that I say, something that you say. It could be an opposition-ruled state. It could be a BJP-ruled state. You could be put on a merry-go-round. FIR pe FIR is the new Tariq pe Tariq.
Yes, let me.
Has been arrested yesterday in UP because suddenly in his trash.
Rahul, can I come in? I think the question was asked to me.
Desh Ratan Nigam.
I thought the question was asked to me. Let me tell you, we have discussed everything, and rather than focusing on solution, I'm only seeing, criticism depending on what position one has. Now, solution, as I said, requires twofold. One, in the world of social media and the television, there needs to be an amendment in the CRPC where the place of publishing or from where the place where the program has been telecasted, that should be the place of an FIR, so that multiple FIRs are avoided in different states and different cities. One. Second, the first FIR becomes the basis. If single incident, multiple FIRs are there. So this is very, very important. So far as the Supreme Court's role is concerned, Yes, Supreme Court has always come down heavily on such kind of thing, but these are prima facie opinions, and ultimately when the final judgment comes, after going through all the FIRs and everything, they have to decide. Now, various courts have different jurisdictions. Now, the High Court can only take care of jurisdiction which falls within its own territorial jurisdiction. So any case which falls there, they will deal with it. But if it is multiple states, then the Supreme Court comes into the picture. So various courts have their different jurisdiction and they have their own utilities. Yes, misuse of laws have been there, whether it is domestic violence or dowry cases, all have been enacted with good intentions. When the misuse is there, then we have provisions also for malicious prosecution and compensation. That is not being utilized in India very effectively, nor the courts put much, give much importance to it.
But all that comes much later. All that comes much later. The fact is, when you've arrested somebody for the same offense, having multiple FIRs, even if he's been given bail in some cases, you've put that person through a punishment. The process itself becomes the punishment. And if you're not worried today, you really should be, because what we are seeing is, whether it is in the case of a Z News anchor being attacked by the Chhattisgarh police or in the case of Zubair, what we are seeing is the process becoming the punishment. India, as the Supreme Court itself said, runs the risk of turning into a police state. Anyone can take offense to everything you do. Earlier it used to be said that being in the army or being in the BSF is dangerous. You're risking your life. Now, something as simple as reporting or anchoring is almost as dangerous, because you could have the police force barge into your house, ring the bell, take you away, because God alone knows who gets offended by what, because the first action is to arrest, rather than that being the last course of action after having investigated, seen whether there's a prima facie case. If the person who's filed a complaint is important enough, if it's someone in a position of power, whether it's in the state or at the center, and if he particularly dislikes what you've said, he will have you arrested. And that is deeply problematic for a country that still claims to be a democracy. All of us need to be concerned. It is an anchor today, a journalist, an activist. It could be you or it could be me. It could literally be any of us. Keep your eyes open, your mind open, and raise your voice where you need to. I'm slipping into a break. I'll have more for you coming up on the other side. The National Commission of Women takes note of the Kerala exam horror. Female NEET aspirants say they were asked to remove their innerwear at an exam center. Details coming up on the other side.
आपका इंतजार खत्म हुआ और मेरा भी, तो चलिए आ रहा हूं मैं आज से।
Madras High Court's ruling that removal of Mangal Sutra by one's wife would amount to subjecting the husband to mental cruelty of the highest order has taken social media by storm. But did the High Court really pass such an order? Here's what really happened. What happened here was Siva Kumar, a professor in a medical college, knocked the doors of the local family court, citing that his wife has stopped wearing the Mangal Sutra. He demanded divorce from the wife in 2016 on grounds of cruelty. He said that his wife suspected his character, visited his office to create a scene, linked him with his colleagues, to which the wife said she only wished to reunite with her husband and live happily with him. That's why she indulged in such activities. Now, the husband has pointed out that she had removed her Mangal Sutra, or Tali as they call it, on leaving his company. The removal of Mangal Sutra helped the court to come to a conclusion that there was no intention on the part of the couple to reconcile. In fact, it should be noted that Justices V.M. Velumani and S. Saunthar clarified that the removal of the Mangal Sutra is not sufficient to put an end to a marriage. The court, however, discussed and referred to an older judgment of the Madras High Court in 2017, where the court had held that removal of Mangal Sutra can amount to mental cruelty. But while giving this judgment, it appears that the court failed to consider Section 7 of the Hindu Marriage Act, which states that tying of tali is not necessary and hence its removal by the wife would not have any impact on marital ties. But the court concluded that the husband was indeed subjected to cruelty nonetheless, without considering the removal of the tali altogether.
People in South India are more traditional and more deep-rooted in rituals and cultures and customs. So they give a lot of importance to the binding Mangal Sutra or Tali, swearing a Sindhu, wearing toe rings, praying and keeping a fast and things like that. So what has happened is probably the woman has hurt the sentiments of the family because it must have been a very orthodox and a traditional family with a traditional outlook. So she must have removed it, and it must have hurt the sentiments of the husband and his family. So that was one of the reasons why he quoted that as cruelty.
You are watching India
Tonight at 9 p.m. on the news today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. The GST hike in food items has sparked off a major controversy. As the opposition goes on the offensive on price rise in Parliament, the big question, who is responsible for the rate hikes? Also, the Shiv Sena split wide open in Parliament, who will be recognized as the real Sena? And the story behind the tragedy of a Haryana police officer mowed down by the mining mafia. And why has the Gujarat police arrested a filmmaker? And we'll have the story of an India Today impact, a sanitation worker who's got back his job. All that and much more on the news today.
You're on board the Newstrack. There's massive outrage over what happened at a NEET examination centre in Kollam in Kerala. At least 3 female students have filed a police complaint alleging they were forced to remove their innerwear before taking the exam. The National Commission for Women has demanded a probe. The National Testing Agency, which first denied these allegations, has also now constituted a fact-finding committee.
I am one of the victims. My NEET exam was at the Mahatma Institute of Information Technology. I did face a difficulty at the time of checking in the inspection area. The metal detected leak, so I was asked to remove my inner garments. But it was plastic, and they do also confirm it as plastic. But even though they asked me to remove.
She, along with 90 girls, were told to remove their innerwear to gain access to the exam centre.
I am one of the victims. My NEET exam was at the Mahatma Institute of Information Technology. I did face a difficulty at the time of checking in the inspection area. The metal detected leak, so I was asked to remove my inner garments. But it was plastic, and they do also confirm it as plastic. But even though they asked me to remove, not only me, majority of the girl candidates were being asked to remove it. It was very shameful and uncomfortable for us, facing the volunteers all through alone. After this exam, our inner garments were damp together in a dark room, so it was very difficult to identify ours. The female volunteers were also very harsh.
The shameful action sparked massive outrage and protests. India Today spoke to another girl who too was given similar indecent order as the invigilator feared exam conduct breach from the hooks of the innerwear.
വളരെ ഗേൾസിന് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ സെക്യൂരിറ്റിയും പ്രൈവസിയും വേണ്ട സമയം കൂടിയായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെ അണ്ടർ ഗാർമെന്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ ഊരേണ്ടി വന്ന ഒരുപാട് കുട്ടികൾ പ്രൊട്ടസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തു. ആക്ച്വലി അവരിതൊരു റൂളായിട്ട് തന്നെയാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇതൊരു സ്ട്രിക്റ്റ് റൂളാണ്, നിങ്ങളിത് സഹകരിച്ചേ പറ്റുള്ളൂ എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ കമ്പൽ ചെയ്യായിരുന്നു. മെന്റലി എല്ലാവരും വളരെ ഇത് ഡിപ്രസ്ഡ് ആക്കിയ ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ. കുറെ കുട്ടികൾ ഒരുപാട് സഫർ ചെയ്തു. എക്സാമിനെ വളരെ മോശമായി തന്നെ ഇത് ബാധിച്ചു.
The National Testing Agency, which conducts NEET, rubbished the charges, claiming they were made with wrong intention. The exam watchdog said that the aspirants appeared for the exam and made no such complaints at the centre, adding that its test codes are gender sensitive. But the local MP slammed NTA, saying it is not the first time that such incidents have taken place.
Can you imagine that a girl of 16, 17 years of age, such an age student has not even submitted a complaint? That is the reason by which they are saying that such an incident has never happened in that examination hall. But so many students, even more than 21 students were frisked, that they are not even allowed to enter into the hall without cutting and removing the metallic object in the innerwear.
NCPCR, the apex body for shielding children against crime, has written to the local authorities seeking action.
It's very unfortunate if we can't trust our children, if we are forcing them to remove their innerwears. It's very unfortunate situation, and we are issuing a notice to the district magistrate of Kollam to look into the matter, inquire into the matter, and submit a report to NCPCR, identify the authorities.
Youth Congress staged a protest outside Marthoma Institute of Information and Technology, where the entrance exam was being conducted. Cops recorded the statement of the complainants.
Our duty was to provide the classrooms and invigilators. The National Testing Agency is responsible for conducting the examination. So it is their duty to conduct it in a neat examination in a proper way. We have no responsibility in the conduct of this examination.
Kerala Higher Education Minister wrote to Centre seeking strict action against NTA for the brazen sexism that has stunned India.
Different parties, different organizations, everybody coming together, protesting and hoping that these kind of issues does not take place in this very state, Kerala. With video journalist Tinku Rajashekar, this is Shubhimol KG reporting for India Today from Kollam.
In a late evening development, former Mumbai Police Commissioner Sanjay Pandey has been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate. Sanjay Pandey has been named as an accused along with NSC's former CEO Chitra Ramakrishna and Ravi Narayan in the NSC co-location case. Munish Pandey tracks the Enforcement Directorate for India Today. He joins me now live. Sanjay Pandey was a high-profile police officer. He is now being arrested. There's a senior business journalist also who seems to be in the crosshairs of the Enforcement Directorate. What can you tell us about the proof or the leads that the ED has against the former Mumbai Police Commissioner?
Well, Rahul, just a while back from now, Sanjay Pandey was placed under arrest by the Enforcement Directorate. Now, when I spoke to the officials who were questioning Sanjay Pandey, I have been given to understand is that, first of all, Sanjay Pandey was non-cooperative as far as the evidence is concerned. Now, what is important here is to point out, Rahul, that Sanjay Pandey has been arrested in the illegal snooping case. Now, there is a case which was lodged by the Central Bureau of Investigation on the complaint which was received from the Ministry of Home Affairs. In that complaint, it has been alleged that Sanjay Pandey, while he was backing a firm called ISEC Securities Private Limited, that firm was given a contract by NSC when it was being headed by Chitra Ramakrishna and Ravi Narayan. Now, at that point of time, from 2009 to 2017, several phone lines of NSC employees, at least 90 phone lines of NSC employees were being tapped by the company which was backed by Mr. Sanjay Pandey. And when the Central Bureau of Investigation conducted the raids, they also recovered the transcript of those tapping. There were audio recordings of those tappings, and based on those evidence which was shared by the Enforcement Directorate, now Sanjay Pandey has been placed under arrest by the Enforcement Directorate.
Thanks, Munish. We'll keep tracking the story and come back to you for more. I want to shift our attention to the Patiala jail, where barrack number 10 has suddenly become a star attraction because of its star inmates, Daler Mehndi and Navjot Singh Sidhu, who are sharing the same cell. But there seems to be no VIP treatment for them inside prison. Mehndi has got a munshi's job, while Sidhu has been given the work of a clerk.
Cameras, journalists, security escorts. But this isn't a spectacle that surrounds celebrities when they walk past in public. Split almost 2 months apart, these strolls led these Punjabi celebrities to a common jailhouse in Patiala for their brushes with the law decades ago. Cricketer turned commentator turned show host turned neta Navjot Singh Sidhu sentenced to a 1-year term in a 1988 road rage case. Punjabi pop singer Daler Mehndi got 2 years for smuggling migrants abroad in 1998-99. Turns out both celebrities share a common barrack in Patiala Central Jail, barrack number 10. Their celebrity status aside, the two inmates have been assigned prison service. Sidhu gets clerical work and his fellow prisoner is given record keeping as a munshi. Sworn rivals outside who unsuccessfully contested the Amritsar East Assembly constituency in the February elections. But now Patiala Central Jail houses both Sidhu and Bikramjit Singh Majhitia, who's facing trial in connection with a drugs case. The 47-year-old Akali leader lodged in a barrack adjacent to his political opponents. And the cells they serve their time in are ordinary. The state government has stopped privileged treatment for VIPs behind bars. With Satendra Chauhan in Chandigarh, Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here on the Newstrack team, goodbye, good night.
जब हम आपके लिए एक न्यूज शो बनाते हैं तो उसकी टीम भी एक ऑर्केस्ट्रा की तरह होती है। ठीक इस पियानो की तरह अगर उसमें एक भी म्यूजिकल नोट गलत हो जाए तो पूरा स्वर बेसुरा हो जाता है, जो आपको अच्छा नहीं लगेगा। वैसे इसी पियानो में मेरे नए शो का नाम भी छिपा हुआ है। ये आपके लिए एक हिंट है।
In your book, you say that in 1980, you were given documentary proof that old Indian pattern tanks were being sold to South Africa, a country with which India at the time had no relations whatsoever.
We did a lot of research. Mr. Unnikrishnan and I met some of the top army people at a secret location. They gave us documentary evidence of tanks having been loaded in Bombay and marked for Canada, but unloaded in South Africa.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.